Alright, let's get this video rolling. This is how I would want Rogue One to be different. Star Wars Rogue One, to be clear. Now, it's the first of the non-main saga movies that I'm talking about. I did my what I want different for the original trilogy, what I want different for the prequels, and just barely got into talking about what I want different with the material that goes between the movies. I just like a few offhand comments, I think, talking about how I would have done Clone Wars different, how I would have done Obi-Wan different, Ahsoka. I think I'm gonna have to give whole spiels on those too, but Rogue One, a movie that is extremely well done emotionally, with character depth. I like the movie Rogue One, but I have problems with it. The first of which is simply that it should have been a series. They should have just started with the series Andor and called it something to do with the early stages of the rebellion. And Andor is a fine character that could have been part of it, but like, so far, even in his own series, like, there's no reason for them to have named it after him. So yeah, Rogue One should have been done a lot like Andor, where there's some political maneuvering. It's more like a spy thriller than an action movie. And I think they made a big mistake in making the thermal exhaust port be an intentional flaw in the design. Like there's no reason for that. Like if there was an intentional flaw in the design, and he's had that built in long enough to have it influence the building of the Death Star. Why didn't he have time at some point to like communicate it to someone? Like, wasn't he in touch with some of the rebels, like Saw Gerrera? It's been a while since I saw the movie, so I'm not entirely positive. Like, why did he leave it in a convoluted way for his daughter to find, and thus commit her to being the one that has to risk her life to retrieve the plans so that someone can find that flaw in the plans? Like, this was done wrong, in my opinion. There shouldn't have been an Imperial officer that built the plans, the flaw in, but what could have been might be an Imperial officer who's realizing that the Empire is on the wrong side, that the Empire is the evil, and that this thing that he helped build is going to cost billions of lives. And so maybe that's how the rebel spies end up getting their hands on the plans in the first place. Like, this Imperial officer risks his life, gets the plans out, and then the spies have to figure out how to get it to Yavin so that they can be analyzed and a weakness can be found, like how it's described in episode 4. I just hope there's enough time to analyze the plans and a weakness can be found, right? Not that there is a pre-existing, predetermined weakness that set the fate of his daughter in stone. Yeah, no, I don't like that structure at all. So, Jyn Erso, fine character. Cassian, fine character. K2, I really enjoy K2, but I almost always like Alan Tudyk. Though I am not confident I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and I apologize for that because that guy's awesome. And even though there was a little wonkiness around it, I like the blind temple guardian. And the wonkiness, of course, being that he can somehow defeat stormtroopers in armor with a staff. You know, like that he can just hit them and they're out of the fight. Really, Lucas and Star Wars in general has to stop making that armor meaningless. It was just a bad idea to do that in the first place and allow Ewoks to defeat stormtroopers. Yeah, it should have been shown that, like, normal blasters, like, take a couple hits to get through, and then you don't need, like, huge mobs of stormtroopers to accomplish a goal. You have a squad of, like, 10, and those guys are scary. Yeah, anyway, I'm floating off the path here. Rogue One had good characters. I liked the blind temple guardian and his friend, and I feel bad I can't remember the characters' names. Is that it for the main characters? And I teared up when each of those characters died. So yeah, I think the writers did a good job of making it emotionally engaging and making the story feel compelling. But I think it could have been a much better show if they'd started doing it like Andor from the beginning, and the capstone season is the lead-in to episode 4, and I'm gonna get to that in a moment too, because I think they made a mistake actually making it join right up to episode 4 because of how they did Vader. Now, this is a tough one for me because that scene of Vader just wrecking house in that hallway was cool. It was really damn cool to see Vader just cut loose like that. Like, he is genuinely trying to get to that rebel that is running away with the plans. Cool scene. Very, very cool scene. Really enjoy watching it. But it's a problem because in episode 4, what couldn't be more than like a day or two later, I don't know, maybe a week later at most, Obi-Wan and Vader face off, and Vader seems more like the elder swordsman that is using quick, efficient movements instead of big, sweeping ones, right? Like, you can tell he's not moving perfectly anymore. That's supposed to be attributed to, like, the cyborg body. So he's not in his heyday anymore. And so the fact that Rogue One has him performing so well, and then lead into what is the foundation of Star Wars, Episode 4, and have it sort of contradict Episode 4, feels like it can't work that way. And so I think that was a big mistake that the Rogue One writers made. And I would be sorry to not ever have seen a scene like that where Darth Vader cuts loose in his prime, or at least earlier when he's younger and the cybernetics aren't quite so old or something. I don't know. Yeah, so Rogue One, I don't think should have been right up against Episode 4. And the other reason, and it's another big one, is that in Episode 4, when they're talking in that briefing room with the other Imperial officers, and there's that one officer that makes fun of Vader for the Force not having been able to help him conjure up the tapes, and you get the idea that Vader has been hunting them for a little while, which is another reason I think that it should have been a series where we can actually be shown Vader hunting for the plans in that last season. Like spies trying to get away from Vader and get the plans to someone who can get them to Yavin. And maybe that last bit of the last season is the spies handing the plans to Leia, who, the rebellion knows she's sympathetic. Yeah, anyway. She's a diplomat. She has access to things that, like, in the Empire, because the Senate is still a thing, and they talk about it in Episode 4 that the Emperor has dissolved the Senate. How will the governors maintain control? Or like the regional governors will be given direct control, and they've got their fleet of Star Destroyers, and fear of the battle station is supposed to keep them in line. So prior to that, Leia is supposed to have diplomatic privileges. So it makes sense she'd be able to get to a place where those spies might be trapped, and like not able to find a way off the world, not able to find a way to transmit off the world. And they hatch a scheme to get the plans into the hands of Leia right as she's leaving. There you go. So, Rogue One. Good movie, but could have been done so much better. And I think so much better as a series, and they should have just done the Andor series and the Rogue One movie as one storyline that explains the birth and the growth of the rebellion, explains Luthen, great character, really cool to see that the writers come up with somebody like that makes parts of the rebellion possible. And Saw, who's a little bit more of a wild card, more intent on direct action, like right off the bat before anybody has any foundation. And then Yavin coming together as a place where these rebels are gathering and figuring things out. And it's just, really good stuff. Season 2 of Andor is really good. And should have been called something like The Rise of the Rebellion. Anyway, I hope that all makes sense. I hope I managed to communicate my ideas clearly enough that they make sense. And yeah, thanks for listening. And probably the next set's gonna... Wait, did I do the sequels already? Maybe I'll do the sequels again with what I would do differently. Because really it's gonna be basically to throw away the sequels and do them again better. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a good night.